should inspire gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, miracle makers. I'm sorry, miracle workers. I know that Rhonda prefers workers
I
than
didn't say
makers.
that. No.
Or somebody did. Somebody did. So, look, we're here. And before we go through the miracle principles, we'll start with 30 just in case we didn't do it. It's very brief. And then we'll go through this, and we're going to go up to 50, not tonight, but through this. And so I just want to say a few things here quickly. First of all, the universe is a dream from Alexander Marchand. And this is a wonderful book, by the way. I know that other peoples have gotten the other one. Everybody's buying this as well, The Way of Mastery, and we're going to do this online soon, another day probably. I don't know. We're going to figure it out from the students, what they like. But this book from Alexander is wonderful, and it is on our website as well, and is available for you. Also, I just want to mention as well, Two Choices, Two Voices, this Sunday, the October 1st, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
That's right.
1 to 5, and with John Pilecki and June Denning. And it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful experience as we go through the differences between the two voices and the two voices that we are confronted with every day. The voice of fear or the voice of love. So to clear the static that keeps you from hearing your higher guidance. Okay. So all of this, by the way, will be on the comments below. And we're going to go there from there, huh?
You can say where it's being held.
Oh, at Unity of Stewart, by the way. Unity of Stewart. That's, of course, in Florida, who are not in Florida right now. All right. And I think we're going to start. I just want to make sure that this is up here and ready to go. There we go. All right, guys. Let's start, and we'll start with Yule,
Okay.
and then we'll go from there.
Right. Miracles praise God through you. They praise God by honoring His creations, affirming their perfection. They heal because they deny body identification and affirm spirit identification. By perceiving the spirit, they adjust the levels and see them in proper alignment. This places the spirit at the center, where minds can communicate directly.
Okay. A couple of things here quickly. I do believe that we did refer to this last week. So it's talking about the differences between body identification and spirit identification. Now this is a very, very important aspect of the curriculum of A Course in Miracles. All right. So the question that we have to really remind ourselves every day is, who am I? Who am I? Am I a pile of dust, which this body is, or am I something bigger? Am I something more complete? Something more full of happiness and joy and peace and goodness and kindness and patience and so forth. And when we understand that, then our world changes accordingly. So I think I referred to last week the same dynamic that we are talking about right now. That the moment that I change my mind, okay, is the day that my experience in time and space begins to loosen from time and space. And then when we begin to have an experience of fixing ourselves with who we really are. You know, Helen Schuckman one time said about a friend to Jesus, hey, why does this person experiencing miracles all the time? And Jesus says, because she knows who she is. Okay? So the question is, for ourselves, who is my reality. And when I have to look at my own identity, I have to recognize that I'm not, number one, an ego trapped within inside of a body at all. I'm not limited by time and space. I am not limited by others' personalities or even my own. That I am not limited by suffering. I am not limited by the voice of the ego at all. So all of these things are in time and space, but our reality lives and moves and abides in the eternal timeless now. Does that make sense? Yeah. So let me ask you guys this, okay? How in the world could the ego survive at all if it is placed in the past or the future, or in the present moment rather? Is it even possible that the ego can thrive when it is fully in the here and now moment? Anything?
Only if you allow it to. If you're not aware of it.
Well, yes, but keep in mind though, that the moment that the ego reaches into the past or into the future, right?
Just an epiphany.
It uses time and space as a foundation for its existence. So when we lose our grip to time and space and we live our lives more freely in the eternal timeless now, then, my God, things begin to change. And this is why I talked about the identification of the body last week, but I want to refer to it to what I experienced today, how we can really change our thoughts easily. I call it policing the mind. And by the way, A Course in Miracles refers to that phrase, and the Way of Mastery refers to it as well. That we have to become aware of what is happening in our own psyche. So I'll give you an example. So this morning, I had a dream about a woman here in Palm Beach County. I won't even mention this person's name. But the dream arise in my, as I slept. And I woke up and I thought, oh, there she is again. You know, it's coming up in my awareness, right? That in my field of awareness. And so I didn't immediately release it, right? But I had to go to Miami this morning, and on the way there, I said, I want to listen to my meditation on the way from Beverly Hutchinson. And I did, and I just randomly picked one, and it was on forgiveness. Do you all know it's difficult when that comes up? You don't think, oh my God, wow, I get to forgive today. It's so easy. It's so nice.
So not.
Right.
But it is.
So look, when we begin the opportunity to really forgive, extreme forgiveness, yeah, the ego will have an immediate reaction to that. It just will be. And so as I was doing the meditations, it said, okay, see this person in your mind's eye. You see it as darkness, and I invite you to instead see some light there within that person. Okay? So I did this through Miami, and I thought, okay, this is the reason why I am practicing the teachings within A Course in Miracles, because once I let it go completely and see it for what it really is, an hallucination there, really to tempt me from move away from the eternal timeless now to the past or the future, and then begin a process of nailing my brother or my sister upon the cross of time and space. And when I do that, I will experience the effect of that myself. So I know how important it is for me to be extremely mindful of policing the mind. Okay? Now here it says, let's see here. Okay, so it's talking then about denying body identification. So most people, psychologists would say, hey, wait, most of what you're experiencing, the suffering that you're experiencing, is probably happening because you are denying something. But of course, the miracle says, look, the reality is understanding, denying the denial of truth. That is a proper method of denying the denial of truth. So when something denies something that is real, okay, then obviously it's not helpful. But when you deny something that is itself illusory, that is helpful. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, you're not letting it.
You're not giving any
consume
attention
you,
to it.
No energy.
You're not.
To it,
It's
nothing.
like a shadow on the wall. That's all it is. This morning I was doing the meditation as I was going to Miami, and I thought of a phrase from the Way of Mastery that says, the voice of the ego is nothing but a gnat shouting in space. That's all it is. So to whatever extent that you want to give your attention to it, then it is. You know, you
No,
just-
gnat.
Right,
What do we
exactly.
do? Shoot it away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, when it says proper alignment, I want to be very clear what we're talking about here. When I'm being honest with you or anybody, that is a process in which the mind and my words and my behaviors are in alignment with itself, right? Mm-hmm. The same is true in our experience with God. That alignment changes when we understand the perfect manner in which God's mind is in alignment with God's thoughts and God's actions. So we really want to align ourselves, not just what Kevin Rice is happening, but what's happening in terms of me aligning myself to reality and not to an hallucination. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. All right. Miracle 31.
Okay. Miracles should inspire gratitude, not awe. Human beings should thank God for what they really are. The children of God are very holy. The miracle honors their holiness. God's creations cannot lose their holiness, though it can be hidden. The miracle uncovers it and brings it into the light where it belongs. Holiness can never really be hidden in darkness, but a person can deceive himself on this point. This illusion makes him fearful, because in his heart he knows it is an illusion. As with all illusions, he exerts enormous efforts to establish its validity. The miracle sets validity where it belongs. Eternal validity belongs only to the Spirit. The miracle acknowledges only the truth. It thus dispels a person's illusions about himself and puts him into communion with himself and with God.
Okay. So this is really important, and the statement from 31, the third sentence, the children of God are very holy. The miracle honors their holiness. I think that this is one of the most difficult things to really understand. This morning when I had my little moment where that person's image came up in my mind, I have to immediately know, hey, wait a minute here. Am I seeing sin there, or am I seeing holiness? Because right now, I'm only experiencing sin. And I mentioned this last week from A Course in Miracles. The moment that I see sin within my brother or my sister, but keeps us both in hell all the time. So, secondly, whenever I see sin within my brother or sister, I have to know that that sin that I see or perceive outside of myself really lives within me. Why? Not because God put him there, but because I myself have festered it within my psyche. So when I don't like it, then I'm going to project it outwardly upon my brothers and sisters. I'm not the person here that's wrong. He or she is. That is the process of projection. Do you have a question about that? Bring it on.
That's pretty good.
Hey, this is A Course in Miracles raw. So let's
Good.
bring it on.
Now, I'm probably not doing it for 30 years like you have. I probably would have looked at that as, because I'm so intuitive, all right, what's the message here?
Yes.
Instead of at first seeing sin, evil, whatever, and up to no good, as opposed to holiness. Now, holiness is always present in all of us. The light, the spark, the light beings that we are. But sometimes it's a message, no?
Yes, it's a deeper message, of course. But let me give you an example about this. Today I was talking to one of my students about this, about criticizing other people, okay? Nobody likes that in the first place. Why? No one has ever erected a statue of a critic at all, right? Oh, that's a really nice statue of that critic. Nobody ever does that, okay? And the reason why it is off-putting is because it is not who we are, number one. And number two, that is not how we can truly correct another person. We do go through the level of correction in the level of the mind, not in the level of behavior. Okay? Not in the realm of time and space. We do it through the miracle readiness that we experience and express ourselves every day. So when that occurred, I did exactly what you just did, Rhonda, which was, there's a message there. When somebody tries to criticize you, is there a place within me that finds that criticism? And the answer is yeah. Kevin, have you been critical about your own mind, your own body, your own emotions, and so forth? Obviously, I have to own to that. And then I have to also take responsibility that perhaps I have projected it upon somebody else. Okay? I have to look at it very carefully. Regardless, though, I need to transcend it, because I don't want to traffic in criticism, rather. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Come on.
Yeah, it's a process.
It's a process. It can be a difficult one.
I don't believe we can fix anybody or help them if they don't want help. We can see the holiness in them, but sometimes isn't it okay to just realize that that this person has to work this out for themselves? I mean, we're not here to really save the world. We are here.
No, we're not.
I'm not going to say.
No, you're right. You're not here.
There are some you just can't help, and you shouldn't have to help. We have to, allow people to do their thing and be who they are. But sometimes when they show you over and over and over again, and you're seeing the same thing over and over, I can't absorb the fact that I have that in me.
Yeah.
Because if I'm recognizing it, I'm seeing something that doesn't resonate with me, is how I'm looking at it. So I have to chew it up a little bit.
You're absolutely correct. First of all, it is very important, and you'll understand it, when you go through the way of mastery as well, that it's important when we police our own mind as well. By the way, when I say my mind, I don't think about this mind. I think about the mind. Okay.
Consciousness.
Right. And so it's really important that we understand that. I was going to say something, but I just lost it. What was it? It'll come back to me in just a moment. But
that we can't help and change everybody, and sometimes.
No. What I was going to say was that it's important. Part of the policing the mind is to look for patterns that is occurring within my mind as well as the manifestation of my mind in another person. Okay? When I see a pattern of sabotage, for instance, that is something that, you mentioned it to me last week, Rhonda. Jesus said this to disciples as well. You don't go and really giving a gift to a person that they immediately reject it or criticize it, whatever. What do? You shake the dust from your feet and you walk away and go elsewhere. Yeah. Why? Because you are wasting your time. You're wasting your time. Look, folks, we've got 18 people going through the curriculum of A Course in Miracles with us, the ministerial program, to become ordained ministers. Now, I would like to have a response back from everybody. We do get a response from most people. And when we don't, I just have to sit with it, Not everybody is geared the same way that I am or the way that other people are geared. And so it's my responsibility to accept all things as they are. However, I'll give you this example here. You both know, for instance, what happens in the quantum field, okay? That in its state, in its natural state, the wave in the quantum field is there. It's there naturally. What is unnatural is when the electrons and the protons come in to the wave, and what happens? It obstructs it. It sabotages the whole process. How does that occur? It's because of our own mind seeing it and entertaining it and so forth, giving it any attention whatsoever. Okay? So if I have a gnat who is hovering over me all the time, right? Do I sit there and go, oh, wait, that's me. I'll just allow that gnat to just gnaw on my face as long as I want it to. No, I go, get off of my face, right? Get off of my face. And that's what I have to do, my friends, is to understand what is part of the wave that you're riding and what doesn't, okay? And if you have to say, hey, I'm done with this, I love you. Esteban says it all the time with me. Not to me personally, but he does to other people too. Hey, this, that, or the other thing, but I love you, you know. I love you. This is coming from a space and a premise of love, not fear. One of embrace, not attack. However, when something that is insane arises within my field of awareness, I'm going to really treat it as it is. An insane person shouting like a gnat, speaking or shouting in space. It's nothing. And so as much of attention and energy that I would give to them would be equivalent to what I am giving to a gnat. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay? Now, one other thing here. Where it says, holiness can never be really hidden in darkness, but a person can deceive himself on this point. So let's talk about darkness here. You may not like this, but I'm going to mention it anyway, as I did last week as well. Hey.
Oh, please, I was sweating.
Yes.
You were sleeping.
Yeah, we're all sweating here. You're just very cold. But you're going to accept all things as they are and choose once again. Right. Exactly. So I got a little distracted there, but I wanted to mention one other thing here quickly. We're talking about darkness here. The Course in Miracles says that what our physical eyes are looking at right now is darkness. Does anybody know why we're looking through our physical eyes at darkness and not light?
Because the light is from within.
The light is from within.
And this is an illusion.
And that there is nothing outside of you. Okay? That is why darkness appears to the physical eyes. It's because we have essentially repressed our own identity, and we pushed it away, and we don't like it, so then we project it not just to a person, but to the entire world. We basically are saying that what we are experiencing in time and space is a projection of our collective mind. And of course it's going to be experienced as darkness slash suffering when we do this, because we're completely asleep. That's it. Nothing more than that. So we can't criticize anybody who's asleep right now. But we can send them a thought of saying, hey, this person is having a call to become awake, to become enlightened of who they really are. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. So that's, are you all okay with the darkness outside of yourself? Because there is no outside of you. And the moment that we think that there is something outside of ourselves, okay, that's when we are experiencing the darkness that we are confronted with. Does that make sense? Okay. Good. All right. And if anybody has any questions here, by the way, just let us know, and we'll respond to you as well. Okay. 32. I'll read this one. Christ inspires all miracles, which are essentially intercessions. They intercede for a person's holiness and make him holy. They place him beyond the physical laws and raise him into the sphere of celestial order. In this order, he is perfect. The spirit never loses its communion with God. Only the mind needs atonement. The miracle joins in the atonement of Christ by placing the mind in the service of the Spirit. This establishes the proper function of mind and abolishes its errors. Now, I love this statement, the second sentence. They intercede for a person's holiness and make him holy. So, now, three things happened today. I was policing the mind. I told you about the dream, right? Mm-hmm. That was the first thing. Because that's the red flag there. That I see a person there that is not holy. Okay? Because to the moment that I say that this person, this woman, is unholy, boom, I'm unholy. Okay? I cannot see or testify of a sin within a person and not see it within myself ultimately. Okay? Okay. So I changed my mind about that. The second thing that occurred, I was on my way to Miami after the meditation. It was done, and I'm listening to radio. And so I think it was the Elvis in the Morning. Do you ever listen to this in Miami? I do. No. Anyway, and so they were talking about a dynamic, and one person said, I think this is the Sweden or the Stockholm, what do they call it? The
syndrome?
No, I cannot believe that I was criticizing right now for them as I was driving to Miami that they did not know about the Stockholm syndrome. That's what it's called. Because none of them knew what it was. And I'm sitting there in an egoic way going, what? They don't even know what the Stockholm syndrome is? What are you talking about? It just what happened to me right now. And by the way, for those people who don't know what the Stockholm syndrome is. It's a psychological dynamic, and where a person falls in love with their captor. Like if a person is a bank robber, okay, and puts you into the vault, okay, and then all of a sudden, maybe it was like Tom Cruise person or whatever, and you're in the vault going, well, but boy, he's so beautiful. I can see us getting us together, and so forth. This is the Stockholm Syndrome. The whole point of this was that I was immediately criticizing it. You see this?
Yeah.
Boom. I am unaware of it. And then thirdly, I'm in Palm Beach with Aaron Adams. Hey, Aaron, we love you. Say, hey, Aaron.
There was no cue.
No, there is no cue. But we're in Palm Beach together. And then all of these trees are still, from the hurricane on Worth
so
Avenue.
piled up,
And we're both looking at it going, what? All of our branches and our entire complex is removed. And it's taken how long to remove a bunch of branches in Palm Beach? Again, I had to look and say, what? What are you doing, Kevin? How about accepting all things as they are in this moment? And then I got home. And on the way, and I said, Aaron, I got some new cookies, because you don't like the old cookies. So we have some new cookies, and it's cranberry and walnut in it. So I think that you really like this. And he goes, I hate cranberries and walnuts. Okay. I accept all things as they are, right?
I love them.
Oh, I love them too here, folks. Y'all should make some cranberry and walnut cookies. Anyway, the whole point is, you see how this occurs incessantly in our minds. Because we're not disciplined enough to respond immediately when those things arises within our field of awareness. So that I can say, in fact, I had this one thing here. Where is that thing? That paper. There it is. And I read this here from The Way of Mastery. And exactly what is referring to, and we're talking about this evening. It says this. This has come into my field of experience as an awesome mystery. Okay, by the way, so let's talk about the people that you all had difficulty just today. Just think about that person today. Got it? Mm-hmm. Okay. This has come into my field of experience as an awesome mystery. You see the difference there? It's a mystery. It's not your ego saying this is what this is. But you're in an I don't know modality instead. Okay. It's an awesome mystery. This means that I am an awesomely powerful being. Yeah, normally this is off. But anyway. Okay. So it's saying I am an awesomely powerful being. Why am I powerful? Because every single thought that I am thinking under the alignment of love, boom, it's here. Every thought that I entertain or give attention to under the guise of fear, the hallucination, boom. You're going to miscreate that. That's why your mind is so powerful, okay? Therefore, I will look lovingly upon this ripple. Now, it's saying the ripple because it really gives us an imagery of the pool that we can look at, okay? And what do? We take a pebble, right? And we drop that pool into the pool. What happens? All of the ripples come because of it. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's the effect that we are experiencing in time and space. You get this?
Yes.
Okay. So, instead of looking at it fearfully, I can shift my perception and saying, hey, I can look upon this lovingly. This crazy woman that goes into a tirade in Palm Beach County against Kevin Rice or somebody else, I can look upon it lovingly instead of from a place of attack. Okay. Yes, I know it needs to play itself out. But as it does so, I'm going to be wise enough to see the transparency of it, to see the lack of effect that it really has. It doesn't change of who I am. It doesn't add anything to my life. It doesn't take anything from it. It merely is an experience called life passing through the field of my awareness. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it's kind of like the thoughts that go through your mind and just
Yes.
drift. Yeah.
And if I look lovingly upon it, if I embrace it, I can transmute it, and therefore already be engaged in the process of creating a whole different kind of vibrational ripple that will create my tomorrows. You see the difference here? Because most people believe that what's happening in the world of effect, which is what we're looking at right now, is going to have an effect upon me personally. Well, it will be, as long as you believe it will. But when you release your attachment to it, then you know that you are living and moving and abiding in the eternal timeless now, and you are not allowing yourself to be limited by your identification to time and space anymore. You are living and moving in the eternal timeless now. Any questions?
No, this is the biggest test, is being able to recognize it, see it, and transform your
Exactly.
thought.
Exactly. Okay. Look, we only got 20 minutes left, and by the way, the show that we're watching, all of us are watching it tonight. What is it called?
Will and Grace.
Will and Grace at 9 o'clock. So everybody needs to leave here at 8:30 p.m. so we can see this
We're being
at 9
thrown
o'clock.
out.
It's going to be a wonderful experience. Okay, so let's go then to, does anybody have any questions about 32, about the person's holiness? And by the way, when I see the holiness in another person, by the way, that's how it makes it me, myself, personally, holy as well.
Okay, example. So somebody, you could feel, I have to speak for myself, I could feel the vibrations with certain people that are just toxic and rippling, in the frequency that we're all living in.
Right.
And so I recognize that right away because I physically can feel it as well as intuitively, immediately see it. So, never mind.
Look, incubate with it, and it'll come back. You're going to have the proper question about this because, Rhonda, look, it's going to come up. And this is the reason why that I'm here. This is why we are here, to make sure that we are clear from the instruction that is being given to us by Jesus about how to really live as a master, in the way. And so, did you get that yet? When you do, let me know, because I do want to address that, okay? Okay, let me just restate what I just said, so if it jogs your mind. Let's assume that you're an awful person, and you're not, and I love you immensely, okay? This is hypothetical. But let's say, in my field of awareness, that I think that you're awful, okay? So I must essentially be saying to myself, she's full of sin, okay? But it's my responsibility to see holiness there instead. And what this is saying is this: when I shift my perception and begin to align my thoughts with the thoughts of God, then not only are you holy, but by the way, so am I. This is a reminder to me that the holiness and the altar of truth lives within me, but I can't know that it lives within me fully unless I recognize it within my sister. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Yeah.
What I was, I think, alluding to was when we try to change our mind or change how we're seeing a person who is, I'll call toxic, and to try to see the holiness within them, which of course is there. It might not be apparent, but we know that it's in there because we are all connected. And they, though, might have no clue about that light in them, that holiness, that they are a spirit, they're not their body, they're not, who... How do we...
Because the temptation is to want to correct them behaviorally,
right.
or through the tools of time and space, when the only level of correction that occurs is within the mind. And that's happening right now. That's my field of awareness. So the shift that you can make immediately is saying, hey, I see this energy there, but I can choose again, okay? I can choose again. And by the way, that's the way that my journey to Miami and back today was a joyful one. Because every single time that I had an irritant coming up, my default was immediately, I see that, but I can choose again. Now, let me qualify this. If you have a difficult relationship, that we talked about this already, I'm not saying that you should not communicate your perspective and so forth. But the moment that we have an emotional charge attached to it, that becomes judgment. So the moment that you understand that what you are reacting to is actually neutral, okay? Neutral. So let me just say it another way so that we all are on the same page. Everything within time and space in the world of effect is neutral. It doesn't have a charge unless you give it a charge. It doesn't have any value until you give it value. Okay? So you have to understand that what is happening in time and space is already over and done with, number one. Number two, it's neutral because of that. However, your thoughts are not neutral at all, okay? It has a positive charge or a negative charge. Does that make sense? One aligns itself to reality, and the other thoughts align itself to the sleep state. Does that make sense? So when you can go to Miami and those three things begins to arise in your awareness, we have to know that what is happening here is completely neutral. Completely neutral. So, we can respond with respect and courtesy by saying, hey, that person is merely having a call to love. Somebody is having a call to health. Somebody is having a call to mental health. Okay? And so I'm spitting out cookies from my mouth. But anyway, and when I do that, that is the level of correction. You know, when it says here in the last paragraph, if I look upon it, if I can embrace it, I can transmute it. So, right? Because I am that. I am that. You know? Look, we were talking about a difficult experience this last week. It is 100% my responsibility to own that. Okay? I did that. Okay? But I don't need to do that again. I can change my mind, right? Because what I chose has already occurred. But I can choose again. Okay? And when I change my mind, my tomorrows will be more full of that than my experience result of making my misperception or miscreation about that person or that thing or that circumstance. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay?
How I'm interpreting it, and I have to do it my way. I'm learning to do this now with you. When you do that, if vibration that you're picking up, the energy that was maybe negative or toxic that you saw initially.
Right.
When you see it as neutral and you detach, I know with me, I no longer feel a reaction to it at all.
Right. Because in that moment, you have perceived that event that is occurring as what it really is, a neutral event.
And it might not be, can't always be our fault. It's not our fault sometimes.
Can you give me an example?
I know we're live, and I have
Yeah,
this is
go take
somebody
your time.
very close to me.
We'll use another name. Use my name. My friend Kevin is such a
Okay,
awful
I have
person.
somebody that's always been completely negative, years, and through a lifetime, okay, and always sees the negative and the worst in everything, and immediately
Debbie
reacts-
Downer.
or David Downer, yeah,
Debbie Downer.
Debbie Downer.
Negative Nancy.
Okay.
I like
And,
that. I haven't heard that yet.
Constantly judging and projecting, and the reaction for me as well, you know, it's,
Yeah.
okay. So when I came to terms with it this week in my own way, after a situation, I all of a sudden didn't feel that, and I felt, okay, I love him for who he is, for the good part inside him, but I don't love everything else, I'm sorry. But I kind of stepped out of it, out of that. It's very hard for me to express it.
Okay, let me explain it this way. Okay, so I mentioned my meditation I was listening to this morning because of my difficult relationship with this woman.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't even know this person that well at all. When I came back to Palm Beach County, I still don't know that person personally. I've never communicated with this person at all. Okay. So the meditation that I was listening to then said, would you accuse yourself of this? And then I thought, have I accused myself of being critical, being judgmental, competing, and so forth and so forth? Like, yes, I have done this myself. That is the easy way to really respond to those things, is you have to say and admit to yourself, and myself, everybody does, that largely what is happening in time and space is a projection. You can actually go into A Course in Miracles and says that this world is a grand projection of God's love, which is naturally a good thing because the extension of God's love is pure. But what we do with that extension is we limit it, we contain it, we judge it, and then we project it upon the world. Okay? That's their problem, not my problem.
And thus we are where we are because
Right.
of that.
So, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got the next one here, quickly. Not quickly, 33. Let me get, where's my, okay.
Highlighter?
Yeah, whatever, I'll find another one here, right here. Go ahead.
Do you want to read?
Yeah.
Sure. 33. Miracles honor a person because he is lovable. They dispel his illusions about himself and perceive the light in him. They thus atone for his errors by freeing him from his nightmares about himself. They release him from a prison in which he has imprisoned himself. By freeing his mind from illusions, they restore him to his right mind and place him at the feet of Jesus. The mind can be possessed by illusions, but the spirit is eternally free. If a mind expresses without love, it can make an empty shell. This can be possessed by evil thoughts. but atonement restores the mind to its proper place. Unless there is emptiness, there is no danger, and emptiness is a false creation. The mind that serves the Spirit is invulnerable.
Okay. I want to start with the last sentence there, and then I'll go back to the first sentence, okay? And if you have any questions about any part of this miracle principle, let me know. Okay. The first one that says, the last statement of 33 says, the mind that serves the Spirit is invulnerable. Keep in mind that Bill Thetford, who typed the dictation from Helen in this book, had a fear of being invulnerable. Okay? What does invulnerable mean to you guys? When I'm not vulnerable, what does that mean for me? It means that nothing in time and space is going to affect me. A Course in Miracles actually says it this way. When you align yourself with the thoughts of God, then, when you do that, then time goes by without its touch upon you. You are in that moment, by that remembrance, safe. You are protected, that you cannot be killed. This is why A Course in Miracles says in another statement, and I've said it many times for the last year, hey, the Son of God cannot be killed. Cannot be killed. Because and I understand that my identity rests in God. It does not rest in time and space. Every single night, the first thing, right? I rest in God. I do not rest in time and space. I do not rest in another person, right? How does that manifest itself in my life? Easily. That my happiness does not come from my husband. Right. It does not come from you guys. My happiness does not come from my bank account. My happiness does not come from my government. It does not come from everything, quote unquote, external to me. Because that is itself not useless, not useful at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's an inside job, like you once wrote.
Happiness is an inside job.
Yeah.
Happiness is an inside job from the Way of Mastery. Okay, the second thing too. Do you all get that, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, the first sentence there, where it says, miracles honor a person because he is lovable. This is where the shift of perception occurs, right? The miracle. The miracle is a shift in perception from a fearful way of looking at something to a loving way. And when we have a difficult moment with a person, we can say, oh, that person is having a call to love because they are in reality lovable. I can find something within him or her that is lovable, that I can find. And this is where the exercise that I listened to today in the car was, hey, look for some light somewhere within your brother and sister. Well, I don't want to look at it. What? There is no light there at all. Yes, there is. There is a light there, but you're not going to see it unless you look to see it. That's it. That's my responsibility as the miracle worker.
Sometimes that's kept dim by that other person because
Yeah.
they're not aware of it.
Where it says, though, in reference to your question, they dispel his illusions about himself and perceive the light in him. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That really answers properly that question. Okay. All right, folks. Look, we got the next one. We'll start with Miracle 34, right?
Yeah.
We'll do that. We've got 3 minutes left. Everyone needs to firmly get ready for Will and Grace, a wonderful
in time
show.
and space, but it's still wonderful.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
we do live here. I mean, let's face it.
We appear to live and move and abide in time and space. So we're going to enjoy will and grace in the process. And laugh through the process. So we got 2 minutes. So, okay, I've got 2 minutes here. First of all, any questions?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. My friends, it is our responsibility to act as the Christ incarnate, because we are. We are. I just mentioned to my spouse a couple of nights ago in bed, and I said to him, I said, I need you to become aware of this fact in my existence. That, as you know, I know that I am interacting right now with the mind of Christ. Okay? Regardless of how it's going to arise in my experience. It is the mind of Christ. And from a dream of darkness, gingerly and gently, into a dream of light and love and joy and goodness and kindness. That's how it occurs. Okay? So it's 8:30. And folks, if no one has told you guys here, as well as those that are here, we love you, and you are pure light.